Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today we are diving into a story that has once again put Julius Malema, the leader of the economic freedom fighters, right at the center of political controversy. If you've been following South African politics for any amount of time, you'll know that Malema is no stranger to headlines, debates, and strong opinions. But this time, a social media post has reignited attention on one of his most provocative past statements, and it's paired with an image that has left many South Africans either alarmed, amused, or just plain confused. The statement making the rounds is one that Malema once delivered in a fiery speech: "You must never be scared to kill." According to Malema, a revolution demands killing as a revolutionary act. Now, taken on its own, that sentence has always been controversial. Some interpret it as rhetorical, revolutionary language rooted in history, while others take it literally as an incitement to violence. But what has pushed it back into public conversation is that someone decided to pair that quote with a photograph of Malema sitting in court, holding what appears to be a gun. Yes, you heard correctly. A courtroom, a suited-up Julius Malema, and in front of him, a weapon-like object that, at first glance, looks far too real. The photograph shows Malema seated, the metallic object resting on the table. It has all the features of a real firearm: the barrel, the grip, the cold, metallic shine. And yet, reports say it was actually a prop, not a functioning gun. Still, when you combine a quote about killing in a revolution with a picture of a politician holding what looks like a pistol, it's bound to spark reactions. And spark reactions it has. Social media, as always, exploded. Some people immediately expressed alarm, saying that the imagery reinforces the seriousness of Malema's words. Others argued that it was staged, symbolic, or taken out of context, and that linking it to his old statement is an intentional attempt to stir up fear. And then there are those who couldn't resist making memes, because let's be honest, in South Africa, if something is shocking, it is also usually meme-worthy. Now, let's step back for a moment and think about why this story matters. South Africa's political history is deeply tied to both struggle rhetoric and actual armed resistance. Language about revolution, fighting, and sacrifice has always carried weight here. When someone like Malema, who has built his career on fiery speeches and unapologetic statements, uses phrases like "don't be scared to kill," it doesn't land in a vacuum. It lands in a society still deeply affected by violence, inequality, and political tension. That's why even an image with a fake gun can feel unsettling to many. What makes this even more fascinating is the setting of the photograph. A courtroom is supposed to be a place of law, order, and measured justice. Seeing a political leader in that space, with a weapon, prop or not, sends a message. Whether it was part of a legal demonstration, evidence presentation, or some symbolic act, the fact remains that most people scrolling on social media don't get the context. They just see Malema, in court, with a gun. And in politics, perception often matters more than reality. Public reaction has been split into three camps. The first camp is outraged, saying Malema has once again shown disregard for the values of peace and democracy. They argue that leaders should be calming tensions, not stoking revolutionary fires with words and provocative imagery. The second camp defends him, pointing out that politicians are often misquoted, misunderstood, or deliberately misrepresented, especially on platforms where a single image can go viral without explanation. And then there's the third camp, those who just see this as another episode of South Africa's political theatre, where controversy sells and outrage is the currency of the day. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The timing of this social media resurgence is not accidental. South Africa is in a political climate where coalitions, rivalries, and leadership battles dominate the headlines. Malema knows how to play the game of publicity. Whether he intended for this old statement and photo to resurface or not, it puts him back in the spotlight, shaping the conversation. And remember, in politics, visibility is power. There's also the matter of symbolism. Revolutionary leaders across the world, from Che Guevara to Thomas Sankara, often used bold statements and imagery to inspire followers. Malema has always styled himself as a modern revolutionary, a man willing to say what others fear to say. For his supporters, the quote about not being scared to kill is not about literal violence, but about courage, fearlessness, and sacrifice. For his critics, though, it is dangerous talk, reckless in a country still grappling with high crime rates and political unrest. So what does this mean for South Africa's political discourse? It highlights once again the thin line between freedom of expression and incitement. Politicians are public figures, and their words carry weight. When those words are combined with provocative images, even unintentionally, the result can be explosive. It also forces us to ask, how do we, as citizens, consume political content on social media? Do we stop to question the context, or do we react immediately to the shock factor? Let's also not ignore the humor in all this. Only in South Africa could a politician be accused of holding a gun in court, only for it to later emerge that it was a prop. Imagine being the poor court official trying to explain that to the public. Yes, it looked like a gun, yes, it was on the table, but no, nobody was in danger. That in itself could be the punchline of a stand-up comedy routine. In the bigger picture, this episode is a reminder of the power of images. A single photo, paired with an infamous quote, can dominate headlines, fuel debates, and shape narratives. It doesn't matter that the gun was a prop. It doesn't matter that the quote is years old. What matters is the impression it leaves. And impressions, in politics, often linger longer than facts. So, where do we stand? Malema's statement will remain one of the most debated lines in recent political history, and this photograph only intensifies its impact. Whether you see it as revolutionary passion, dangerous rhetoric, or just another day in South African politics, one thing is certain: Malema knows how to command attention. And once again, we are all talking about him. Thank you for joining us on today's deep dive into this fiery political story. What do you think? Was this social media post a fair reflection of Malema's message, or just another case of political sensationalism? Drop your thoughts in the comments, we'd love to hear your take. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with your friends who enjoy a good political debate. Until next time, stay informed, stay sharp, and keep questioning the narratives around you. See you next time.